Hey there, wake up, it's Means Morning News. Just after 11 a.m. on the East Coast, I'm Sam Sachs. Hopefully the last newsman you see before the weekend. And we begin at the Pentagon, where Defense Secretary Pete Hegseth gave a deadline of 5 p.m. today for Anthropic to remove safeguards on its AI technology. The company is not waiting until the deadline to make a decision, though. Its CEO, Dario Amodei, already delivered a response to the ultimatum. It won't comply. The feud between Anthropic and the Defense Department has been brewing for months, ever since Anthropic raised concerns about how the military wants to deploy its AI tools. Anthropic was one of the first AI companies to contract with the Pentagon, deploying its chatbot Claude on DoD servers. The technology was reportedly used in the illegal kidnapping operation of Venezuelan President Nicolas Maduro. Now, most of these discussions have taken place behind closed doors, so we don't know for sure what's at the center of this dispute. But it's been reported that Pete Hegseth wants Anthropic to disable guardrails on its technology so that it can be used for mass domestic surveillance and autonomous weapon systems. Pentagon is denying that, but Anthropic's CEO basically confirmed it in a statement released on Thursday. It reads, quote, "In a narrow set of cases, we believe AI can undermine rather than defend democratic values. Some uses are also simply outside the bounds of what today's technology can safely and reliably do. Two such use cases have never been included in our contracts with the Department of War, and we believe they should not be included now." The statement then describes those two use cases. First, on spying, quote, "We support the use of AI for lawful foreign intelligence and counterintelligence missions, but using these systems for mass domestic surveillance is incompatible with democratic values." Notice the stress on domestic. The company is okay with its tools being used for mass surveillance on foreign populations, just not on Americans. That's not exactly a position that should earn the company praise, since people overseas also have a human right to not be surveilled by the US war machine. But it does indicate that Hegseth wants to spy on Americans too. Anthropic noted that the government can already acquire detailed records on people through public sources, but that, quote, "powerful AI makes it possible to assemble this scattered, individually innocuous data into a comprehensive picture of any person's life automatically and at massive scale." Company then turns to the second use case it's being pressured on, autonomous weapons. Quote, "Today, frontier AI systems are simply not reliable enough to power fully autonomous weapons. We will not knowingly provide a product that puts America's warfighters and civilians at risk. We have offered to work directly with the Department of War on research and development to improve the reliability of these systems, but they have not accepted this offer." That's a little scary. Anthropic's decision to not submit to Hegseth's demands is already pissing off Pentagon officials. The Undersecretary of War, Emil Michael, said that Anthropic's CEO is a liar who has a God complex, and that the Pentagon will not bend to the whims of a tech company. What happens now is unclear, since the Pentagon threatened Anthropic with two punishments. First, that it would use the Defense Production Act to force the company to deliver AI tools without the safeguards. And second, that it would declare Anthropic a supply chain risk, forcing the Pentagon and its contractor base to stop doing business with the company. That's a designation that's only been applied to foreign companies. Pentagon official told Politico that the department could do both of these things, even though they would be inherently contradictory, labeling Anthropic a national security risk while also determining its technology is essential to national security. Last month, Hegseth gave a speech about how he intends to create a, quote, AI-first war fighting force, and he appeared to take a swipe at Anthropic, claiming that the Pentagon won't be boxed in by, quote, woke ideological constraints. Because it's woke now to not want to be spied on by your own government or blown up by a robot. Anyway, if Anthropic won't do it, Hegseth will just find some other AI company that isn't woke. Cue Elon Musk. This week, the Pentagon awarded a contract to Musk's AI company known as xAI. Those who are on Twitter are already familiar with xAI's capabilities through its chatbot Grok, which once described itself as Mecha Hitler, and later generated millions of deep-fake sexually explicit images of users on Twitter, including children. Gotta say, I don't like where this is headed. Turning now to the news and entertainment industry, which is being devoured by reactionary billionaires. The Ellison family now looks set to win the bidding war to purchase Warner Brothers Discovery and the entirety of its film and television holdings. The company submitted a $31 a share hostile takeover bid, which was deemed superior to Netflix's takeover offer. If the deal goes through, that would put the Ellisons in control of not just CBS News and other Paramount properties, which were purchased last year, but also of WBD's properties, including HBO, TNT, TBS, and perhaps most important to the man in the White House, CNN. Person in charge of it all will be David Ellison, who this week was a guest of Lindsey Graham's at the State of the Union. Ellison's dad, Larry, is the billionaire co-founder of Oracle and longtime supporter of Donald Trump. It's his fortune that's allowing his son to roll up all these media properties. And the Ellisons know that in order to get regulatory approval to build their new media empire, they have to get on the president's good side. After purchasing CBS News last year, David Ellison installed Barry Weiss to substantially transform coverage to be more favorable toward the Trump administration and the ruling class. That included spiking a 60 Minutes report that was critical of the White House's illegal deportations to a torture prison in El Salvador. So this is great news for everyone who thinks Jake Tapper and Dana Bash are too liberal. Like Katie Miller, the wife of White House Nazi Stephen Miller, who posted on Twitter about the news, quote, "Restoring entertainment to a shared common culture devoid of overt liberalism will make our country a better place. Our children deserve programming without a forced trans agenda." Forced trans agenda. These people are deranged, but I guess you have to be to share a bed with Stephen Miller. Anyway, I'm looking forward to new slop coming out of Warner Brothers Discovery, like Melania 2, the sequel, Kid Rock live concerts with special guest Nicki Minaj, and a new Dinesh D'Souza documentary about China stealing the 2020 election. And finally, the Commerce Secretary, Howard Lutnick, was caught lying again about his associations with dead pedophile Jeffrey Epstein. Buried in the DOJ's release of Epstein files was this photo of a much younger Lutnick hanging out on Epstein's island. He's the guy in blue. Now, Lutnick previously claimed that he only ever met Epstein once, in 2005, after he moved in next door. Lutnick said that he and his wife were so creeped out by Epstein that he never associated with him again. But when the Epstein files dropped, they proved Lutnick wasn't being honest. He had extensive communications with Epstein, and in fact, the two were in business together for years. Also, Lutnick brought his family, his wife and his kids, to Pedo Island to have lunch with Epstein in 2012. That was 4 years after Epstein pleaded guilty to prostituting kids. Lutnick was forced to fess up to that lie during a hearing earlier this month.
Did you, in fact, make the visit to Jeffrey Epstein's private island?
I did have lunch with him as I was on a boat going across on a family vacation. My wife was with me, as were my 4 children and nannies. I had another couple they were there as well with their children, and we had lunch on the island. That is true, for an hour, and we left with all of my children, with my nannies and my wife, all together. We were on family vacation. We were not apart.
I was just there for an hour with my wife and kids the whole time. But I don't see any wife and kids in this photo, Howard. It's just you, Epstein, and a bunch of other dudes. So what were you doing on the island, and why do you keep lying about it? Even more interesting, this photo of Lutnick was removed from the archives by the Department of Justice for some reason. The only reason we're seeing it now is because the website Jmail, which copied all the Epstein files after they were released and sorted them into a searchable database that looks like Epstein's Gmail inbox, still had the photo. Again, it's deleted off the DOJ's database. Weird, huh? All over the world, members of the Epstein class are getting taken down. Former prime ministers and princes, ambassadors, and executives. But not in the US, where the Department of Justice and the Republican Party act as a protection racket for elite pedophiles and their friends, like Howard Lutnick. Okay, gang, listen up. The troll under the bridge says we can't cross until we give him what he wants. A sacrifice. So let's do it. This week's rich dick is Jack Dorsey. The AI mass layoffs are here, and Dorsey is showing other capitalists that there's no shame in destroying the lives of your employees to enrich shareholders. Even though they already knew that. Dorsey, who co-founded Twitter and made billions, announced he was cutting staff at his new company, Block, by roughly half. Block is a financial tech firm that operates popular money transfer apps like Square and Cash App. It had over 10,000 employees, but 4,000 of them are now getting laid off. It's one of the largest workforce reductions that an S&P 500 company has ever done. And it's especially significant because the company is in no financial trouble at all. As Dorsey admitted in a post on Twitter, quote, "We're not making this decision because we're in trouble. Our business is strong. Gross profit continues to grow. We continue to serve more and more customers, and profitability is improving." Sure enough, financial reports released on the same day as the layoffs show the company made more than $2 billion in profits in the fourth quarter of last year. That's a 24% increase year over year. But the workers who helped make Block be so profitable are now getting kicked out and replaced by AI tools. Dorsey explained, quote, "Something has changed. We're already seeing that the intelligence tools we're creating and using, paired with smaller and flatter teams, are enabling a new way of working, which fundamentally changes what it means to build and run a company. And that's accelerating rapidly." This has always been the purpose of AI. The reason the ruling class is investing so much in these companies and in AI infrastructure like data centers. It's not because these tools will benefit the public broadly. It's because they will benefit capitalists who want to cut labor costs, even at companies that are already very profitable. And Dorsey was rewarded for this ruthless drive for profits. The company's stock surged 24% after the layoffs, creating billions of more dollars in value for Block. Some are praising Dorsey's generous severance packages here, which include 20 weeks paid. That will give time for some of those workers to find another job, but in what field? After seeing Wall Street's reaction to Dorsey's mass layoffs, other companies are going to do the same thing, replace their white-collar tech workers with AI. And for what? So that Jack Dorsey can become an even bigger billionaire? All of this raises the question of, what exactly is the point of a corporation anyway? Is it to provide a service or a good? Is it to provide employment for workers? Is it to improve society? Turns out it's none of those things. It's to maximize profits above all else, because the service or goods will be degraded by these mass layoffs. We already saw this played out at another financial tech firm, Klarna, which fired 700 workers and replaced them with AI customer service bots. Service declined, and the company scrambled to hire back more humans. The mass layoffs, which are just beginning, will decimate the labor force and require substantial improvements to the social safety net that currently our government is unwilling to prepare for. And none of this will benefit society broadly. It's actively doing harm, in fact, as extremely energy-intensive AI data centers jack up consumer utility prices and accelerate global warming. You know, businesses are chartered by governments that are supposed to protect the general welfare. And now that the AI mass layoffs have arrived, it's time for those governments to revisit that principle and not let the new robber barons of our age destroy everything. Like Jack Dorsey, this week's Rich Dick. All right, friends, the show ends today with a sunset. Occasionally, people send us sunsets and we don't air them because we want sunrises. But today we're making an exception because, one, it's Friday, so what the hell? And two, it's from Germany, where the sun is actually going down this time of year when MMN airs. So we'll allow it. It was sent in by Owen in Gelsenkirchen. Enjoy. Thank you, Owen. That's the show. Thanks for watching, and thanks to the team behind the scenes. Find more MMN at means.tv. We also have YouTube and podcast channels, and you can find us on Twitter, Instagram, and Blue Sky. One day, capitalism will fall. Until then, we'll be right here. See you next week.